Welcome to Energy and Personal Excellence. This is Sachin Karnik. Today I want to talk about desire, and I want to go into that to some extent and see where that leads us. Desire is always present within our mind and our body at some level. If there was no desire of any kind, we would not be able to even get up in the morning. We would not be motivated to accomplish any task. We would not have any meaningful life experiences. So desire is part of our natural condition. Without it, there is no movement of any type. Physically, there's no psychological activity. Nothing can happen without desire. And within desire, there is energy. So one of the central ideas that I have been expressing over and over again in the new program of Energy and Personal Excellence is the coalescence, the coming together of all energy. It's the synchronization of all energy, the synchronicity of all energy. And when there is such synchronicity where energy wastage has stopped and energy revitalization has occurred, desire itself transforms. This is my opinion, or I'm stipulating that, or I'm stating that way. The nature of desire changes because generally we are wanting something through the senses from the outside world to fulfill the innumerable desires that are coming up from within our system time and time again. One desire comes up, we take some actions to try to fulfill it. There are three possibilities: either it's fully fulfilled, partially fulfilled, or not at all fulfilled. If it's fully fulfilled, that state is temporary, and then new desires prop up, or the same desire pops up later on. If it's partially or not fulfilled at all, then again attempt is made to try to fulfill that. So each human being is trying to get to a state of constant fulfillment of every desire that props up. Whether it's a minor desire, a moderate one, or a major desire, irrespective of its intensity, there is an attempt made, or at the very minimum, there is consideration mentally to try to fulfill that desire. And we can also state that fulfillment or satiation is the lack of that desire. It's the non-appearance of the desire. It's the non-existence of that desire for that period of time. Right, so we can also say that because, and we experience that because we want to examine our life and the journey ahead based on actual experience and not simply hypothetical, theoretical ideas, or even just scientific or how can we say ideas that are academic as such. Scientific is good, but we don't want to be stuck in academia. We want to move out of academia into actuality, reality. So, what is desire? Well, desire is a force. There's energy within desire. We use this word desire. In the Sanskrit language, the word is ichha, I-C-C-H-A, ichha. The word ichha means wanting. It also has the connotation of the ego within oneself, or as oneself, that I am this ego, or this ego is there that is wanting something. The I want XYZ. So there is ichha or desire. There is energy within desire that is called ichha shakti. S-H-A-K-T-I means shakti means energy, and ichha means desire. So ichha shakti means the energy that is existing within desire. And as time moves on in our life, or as the days move on, we wake up in the morning and the day unfolds, we are driven by a variety of physical demands, as well as mental, psychological, relational, emotional demands and needs and wants. And to a functional extent, that is obviously needed. Like having enough food, having proper shelter, having good environment, having enough time to relax, having enough activity. If one is not active, then one cannot also be in a state of health. So at a very basic level, desire exists so that we can maintain our physical health. And if physical health is not maintained, then there's a lot of trouble, obviously. So desire is there. We perform activity throughout our days to try to fulfill it. We have hunger instincts, we have thirst instincts, we have urination, defecation, just bodily instincts are there. There are physiological mechanisms at play. The body works based on physiological principles and then within anatomical structures. We can clearly see that is the case. So why is there unhappiness in life or imbalance? That has very much to do with a variety of factors, including the lack of clarity within the mind. Obviously, if someone doesn't have enough food to eat, there's going to be trouble. If there's a medical problem, like physical damage of some sort, there's going to be all kinds of problems. But assuming that the physical body is relatively okay, still there are difficulties on the psychological side, on the mental side, on the relational side, economics, so many things. And there is a continual running after pleasures, after the experience of pleasure. That's one thing. And there's also a wanting of something more than what we have. Now, is that a problem? I don't think that that's a problem if we are able to stay in a state of satisfaction and keep the desire for further progress alive. And that is perhaps the trickiest thing to do. I don't know that people have talked about it this way before, or even scholars have talked about it this way. They may have, I'm not sure exactly. I haven't come across anything that really talks about it this way, where satisfaction is there in our day-to-day routine, great deal of satisfaction. So there isn't the lack of satisfaction and then distress as a result. Now, in hearing that, you might be thinking, well, if you have that state, why would you want anything? Why would you care about anything? Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think desires can still come up. You can still want to do different things, and you would do them. Try to move in different directions to move ahead from that state of satisfaction. But it doesn't mean that the state of satisfaction has to be non-present, meaning that the state of satisfaction must be damaged somehow for further progress to happen. So my contention here, in simpler language, is that the state of satisfaction can be maintained and tremendous progress can happen because there is satisfaction. Not the other way around. We think that progress can happen only when you're unsatisfied. How will you be motivated otherwise? How will you have energy to do the things you want to do or to accomplish your goals? Hence, I'm contending that inner development and outer development in one's life, both are possible further and further without damaging inner satisfaction, without damaging personal balance. Because the program of energy and personal excellence is for all of humanity. As some of you who are involved in this program now know, that this is for everyone. No one is going to be excluded. The charges are very minimal, and I offer it for free for people who don't have any income. I'm not going to turn anybody away because of income or any other reason to be part of this journey. Simply because every human being has the right to explore the extraordinary aspect of themselves and to develop their life in an extraordinary way. Why can't that be done? It can be done. And I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm just an explorer just like others are. But I have a lot of things to share. And I think it is through the sharing and through the dialogue and exploratory process can we actually move into the truth through this kind of churning process to a contemplative and examining and moving together on a day-to-day basis. Can we actually progress further? Part of what we have forgotten or which we're not doing these days is moving together. We are isolated more and more through technology. We have lost actual interpersonal connection. And as a result of that, we have we are increasing damage to our mind, to our brain, due to more and more isolation or more and more reliance just on technology for interacting with others. So things are rapid, things are fast, everything is available at your fingertips. That's fine, that's a tool. There's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't mean that we are actually moving together in an interconnected way, in a way that appreciates the unfolding process of life. And unless we can appreciate that together, our life will be over one day. It'll be just blown out. That's it, it'll be gone. And that's going to happen. Medical science has not found a way to make anybody immortal. There are aging genes, and everyone is going to go one day. Aging is going to happen. That's pretty much an axiom. So, assuming that there's no reversal of that, I don't think there would be. And I'm not sure that we would want that also. Can you imagine the population just increasing further and further? So, leaving that aside, the fact is that this body is temporary. The fact is that we are going to be gone from this world one day. And we are, as a human race, we're constantly in a state of struggle with each other, within ourselves, with our relationships, with our interconnections. We're constantly struggling. Not that everybody's always struggling, but most people are, unfortunately. And there's no end to this struggling. And then a person continues further and further and further, and then is totally devastated because they have lost their inner power. Again, it's not true for everyone. It's true for many people. So the factor of desire is critical to really grasp right from childhood, right from teenage. Because if we don't see and perceive and become really personally and intently aware about what desire actually is, we will be caught inside the massive intrapsychic vortex created by desire. And once that happens, then one spends a tremendous amount of time trying to come out of that vortex. That is true in a variety of different aspects of life, which you can imagine what they would be. If you were to look at your own life, or if I look at my own life, if we look at it genuinely, honestly, clearly, what do we see? We see that we have bound ourselves many times in many ways, or we have created bondage for ourselves. And who has done that? Well, it's our own desires, it's our own mind, it's our own wanting certain things, which may actually create more and more bondage within. More and more entrapment within. That can happen. So desire by itself can approach a further development. This is my contention. It can develop further into a state of continual satisfaction while instincts come and go, while while desires themselves come and go, but the fundamental state of satisfaction is not damaged. And this is worthy of exploration, So my request is for you to explore what this means, if it means anything at all. Maybe there is no such state of satisfaction. That could be possible also. But I don't believe so. My contention, and I'm making that in a very clear way here, that I strongly feel, I strongly believe, or I want to, assert that there is a state of continual satisfaction when there is balance in all 12 areas of one's life. Without that balance, that satisfaction will not be there. So the imbalances in the 12 areas is the major problem. And to stay in a state of complete internal and external balance, while being aware of all the changes that are going on, and to move through each day by living inside the fountain of joy that you are, is true personal excellence. This is my opinion. We think that joy is coming from outside. We were looking for joy from something from outside, but we don't know that is actually our original nature. Now, just by my saying that doesn't mean anything just by itself. It's a discovery. It's not a matter of simply believing that, that might be the case. So many people have said that you are joy, you are ananda, you are divine, you are this, you are that. But is that our discovery? Is that our reality? What is our actual reality? So one who has discovered that joy as oneself, that joy is me, does not have to try to convince anyone of one's joy. It stays, it lives there, it emanates its own light, its own glory. A person doesn't have to say, look at how much joy I have. It's not, that's the mind saying that. And if the mind is saying how much joy do I have, look at how great I am, then that is not joy actually. That is just a mental phenomenon. So the mental phenomena that we all experienced in so many different ways, my contention in this program, and my contention based on the study of many great teachers throughout the world and spiritual, elevated people, the contention is that the mind isn't who we are. The mind is actually ours. We are the possessor of the mind. We're in charge of the mind. We are tapping into the mind. We are using the mind. But that's not really who we are. Who we are in our actual self, in our actual reality, we don't know. And we cannot know in the traditional sense of the word knowledge, because knowledge is about phenomenon, external phenomenon. And it is also about internal phenomenon, which is this field of psychology. Psychology, sociology, psychoneurology, etc., neuropsychology. So, who we are is the subject. It is not the object of knowledge. It is the subject through which knowledge is utilized. So then how does the subject know itself? There's always the question of how. How does that happen? How do we know who we are, what we are? Well, it goes right back to the mind. We must be able to, if we can, and this is my contention, if the mind can settle down cohesively without damaging desire, damaging energy, damaging anything within itself, with all of its content left alone, and without being trapped inside that content, like being trapped in quicksand. Most people are trapped in the content of the mind. But the mind's content isn't who we are. It's the content we are holding on to. Right? So for example, if I'm sitting in my one-bedroom condominium and I've got all kinds of contents inside the condominium, but I'm not those contents. That's not who I am. They're mine. I can say that they belong to me, but I'm not them. The same thing is true with my clothes. I'm not my clothes. The same thing is true with my body. The body is mine. But now when it comes to the body, there's a real sense that this is me. And that is needed also, otherwise we wouldn't be able to survive. But if you go further, you can see that the body is also an object of perception. It's something that we're seeing. All right. So who is the seer that is seeing the body? So that's the great mystery. That's the great question. And this question cannot be answered verbally. It's a realization. It's a realization that can occur when the entire mental structure settles down and all of the desires that are constantly going in 1,000 directions, they all settle down or they become synchronous so that the synchronicity of desire is not damaged. And when desire in its entirety becomes synchronous, then the movement in day-to-day action is without friction. And in that movement without friction, there is the flow of love through the mind, through the senses, to the outside world. It isn't that one is getting love from the outside. It's coming from the inside out. It's leaving. It's not leaving. It's emitting itself from the inside out. So that type of progression will allow for actual progress in anything we take on. So we want to open, offices, or you want to open, I don't know, some businesses, or you want to do this or do that. Whatever it may be done, the opening from within of joy as oneself is foundational to real human development. Without that, we are trying to develop through the fragmented mind, through the torn apart, twisted, and tortured mind in many cases, and we cannot develop that way. The mind that is already tormented, tortured, fragmented, hurt, has got all kinds of mixed memories, and how can that actually give progress to anybody? It cannot give any progress. It will simply try to escape from all that turmoil, and then try to progress. And there may be some progress. I'm not saying no completely, but it's very unlikely. The mental stability, mental clarity, physical health, and mental health balance, these are the foundational ideas upon which the discovery of joy can happen. Simply my believing that I have joy or I am joy, that's just a belief. But have I discovered that? And what is that discovery? How does that happen? Where does that occur? Well, if that is, assuming that is who I am, I'm simply trying to realize what I am. That means I have forgotten who I am. I've gotten trapped and entangled inside the mental and physical structure. Mental and physical structure are only tools, are only means to interact in the outside world. But more often than not, our mind is simply just turned on and on. It just stays on all the time in different ways, dreams and all that. It's just totally unnecessary. My opinion about dreams, as some of you may have heard, most of that is 99% of it is totally unnecessary. These dreams are there because there's so much agitation and activity already built up inside. Then it needs some kind of outlet, so this dream world is generated. But in actuality, though, if one is moving during the daytime, one is moving through the daytime with no wastage of energy, no conflicts, no turmoil, with very good stable state, then the dream at nighttime would also change its quality if there are dreams, or there would not be any dreams. There would be great silence, and in that silence, the extraordinary spiritual reality that you are will appear. Will show itself. But it's not something that the mind is going to make happen. The mind just has to really go out of the way. It simply just has to settle down, not in a null way, but with a highly integrated state, where all the energies in the mind and desires are all integrated and held together, and then in the full integration, that opening happens. Otherwise, you could just have like a null state through drugs and through medicines and all that. That isn't going to provide enlightenment. That is not going to awaken oneself to one's own reality. People try to do that through drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, this and that, so many things, but that will not awaken one. It will actually damage the energy structure. So these are some thoughts about desire, and we'll see, where this all goes. Those who are interested in dialoguing, please do send your feedback to sachinkarnik@yahoo.com, or you can always call me, text me, whatever. That's fine. 302-268-4480. So this is an ongoing journey, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much.